everyone. A very good morning and welcome to sunny Zandvoort by the North Sea, right on the coast of the Netherlands for race 19 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. The sunshine, if I'm honest with you, was not predicted for this morning. And there we can see our pole sitter. What a couple of weeks this young man has had. Lando Norris then, pole sitter for race 1 here in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. The Carlin Motorsport driver who, of course, did such a phenomenal job in Hungary in Formula 1, testing with McLaren. Going alongside him then, a very good qualifying from Ferdinand Habsburg. It's been a bit of a Carlin lockout on the front row of the grid. So Ferdinand Habsburg then puts the car P2 before we see Joel Eriksson, who will be going from P3. There indeed is the Joel Eriksson car with the Moto Park driver inside, focused on this race to come. 33 minutes plus 1 lap of FIA Formula 3 action here at Zandvoort. Going from P4 then, Maximilian Günther, who currently leads the championship, but only by a whisker ahead of Lando Norris. Maximilian Günther with the new BWT livery across the car, and he the next to be wearing the pink colours of BWT. Then next on the grid we see the young British star Callum Ilott, also from the Prema Power team. Callum Ilott, who's currently P4 in the British Championship. Alongside me, motorsport journalist Lee O'Gorman. As we look at the Ralph Lauren car going from P6, we're reaching the sharp end of the championship now, Lee, where every point matters throughout the season, but now it seems to become even more crucial, doesn't it?
It's getting exciting, Dave. It's getting very, very tight, and it's bolstered somewhat by the 2 victories for Norris in the last round at Spa. That's really brought him back into contention, just behind Maxi Günther. To be fair, after a couple of rounds where he didn't win, where Norris didn't score as many points as Eriksson and Günther around him. So therefore, he's brought him back into the point, into the top of the standings, near the top standings, and we got a 3-way fight with Ilott just in the outside and 4th, looking to get back in again. Ilott's
like a viper, isn't he? He's just ready to pounce. He's almost, but of course he needs to do it. Guan Yu Zhu going from P8 then. How important will it be in terms of confidence, as we see Mick Schumacher, who's going from P9 on the grid? How important will it be for Lando Norris when he went off and did this Formula 1 test and astounded everyone? What a confidence boost that should be for the young man. Not really that he needs a confidence boost.
Well, just imagine you're on cloud 9. And
I can never imagine that.
There's several clouds above cloud 9. That's where Norris is right now.
Absolutely. Jake Hughes then, the high-tech GP driver, goes from P10 on the grid, and just behind Jake Hughes is PK in the number 5 car. So Pedro Piquet for Van Amersfoort Racing, and there you can see the VAR logo on the front of Pedro Piquet's car. Van Amersfoort Racing, of course, it's a home gig for Van Amersfoort Racing. I was having a long conversation with Rob and Fritz yesterday, who head up that team, and for them, it kind of makes no difference. And Rob was telling me, actually, do you know what, Dave, Oschersleben is nearly a more of a home gig for us in a funny sort of way. So that was really interesting to learn. Harry Newey then for Van Amersfoort Racing, and despite copious efforts on my part, Lee, I've tried to find out, because Harry has, of course, not only been racing in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, he's been studying as well with his A-levels, and was trying to find what was inside the envelope when he opened them last week, and I've not been able to have a conversation with Harry to find out, so I hope you've done well, Harrison. Better than I did.
Well, far better than me as well, I suppose.
Gihard Daruvala then we can see there, who is going from P13 on the grid as the grid girls make their way off the Zandvoort circuit. So it's 4.3 kilometres, 4 left, 9 right, and it's fair to say, isn't it, Lee, you're a journalist, you've been here tons and tons and tons of times. We look at the pole sitter Lando Norris once again. Overtaking here at Zandvoort's not a given, is it? And it's not easy.
It's not, but one thing that can actually play into your favour is that we are by the sea, so sometimes the weather can be quite changeable. We had a massive rain shower overnight, so the track has been completely washed clean. But we also have high winds around here, and that actually blows some of the sand from the dunes around the circuit onto the racing line, and that takes a lot of the grip away.
And the circuit is actually carved out of dunes, isn't it? The dunes surround the circuit. It's not necessarily the sand coming off the beach. It is because the whole circuit, as I say, has been carved out of these dunes. Something we've not mentioned yet, now that the track has had a big wash overnight, and bear in mind we were expecting that rain this morning, new tarmac.
Absolutely, and that's going to bring an awful lot of the bitumen and the chemicals and the tarmac to the surface as well. So it will be some wonderful grip, maybe for a short time, but it's also going to be tempered by, as I said, the conditions we had overnight. That's made this such a changeable weekend.
Well, we will see. We've got 3 great races to come from the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and the first of those is about to get underway. Already the spectators have made their way into the circuit to enjoy the single-seater action to come. And that's a great shot. And that's a good example, isn't it? As you see the track turns 2, 3, 4 and 5 carving their way through the dunes, Lee.
It is actually very much like an old school circuit.
Everyone says this. What does that mean?
It's actually, it's almost carved out of the architecture of the land.
Yes.
As opposed to modern circuits, which tend to be completely flattened, and then you build a circuit into it.
I see.
Whereas this is kind of, it follows the curvatures of the land. And
right.
So the angles of the corners tend to actually flow and match into that.
So the topography of the land is what has made the circuit. And you mentioned this old school circuit. It's something we hear an awful lot about as the cars are released on their formation lap then. And as I said a few moments ago, they're taking not necessarily very easy at this circuit, but the drivers actually love it for the challenge that it brings. Because, as you can see, the gravel there, the trap, there's no tarmac runoff areas here. This track bites your bottom if you get it wrong.
If you lock up and maybe just go a little bit wide and you can wheel onto that bit of grass, you will lose not just time, you will lose places, because you could lose easily 5-10 seconds trying to get back up to pace.
Here comes the grid in full for you then. P1 Lando Norris, Ferdinand Habsburg alongside. Then it's Joel Eriksson and Maximilian Günther. Callum Eilert and Ralph Aron battle over the next row before it's David Beckman and Guan Yu Zhu, Mick Schumacher, and then Jake Hughes. Behind is Pedro Piquet, Harrison Newey, Jihan Daravala, Nikita Mazepin, Kevin Andres. Then it's Marino Sato, Amaya Vadyanathan, Tadasuko Makino, and Joey Mawson bringing up the rear of the pack then as the cars are on their formation lap and winding their way around this 4.3 kilometre circuit, which offers in the dunes some fantastic vantage points if you're here as a live spectator. If you're not, you're in the best place. And, we will bring you all of the FIA Formula 3 action across this weekend here in Zandvoort. Stand by, the cars are heading towards the grid, and they will be ready to contest race 1. There is the track layout for you. 33 minutes plus 1 lap is the race duration. We're here at Zandvoort. So a shot then as the cars take just a little bit of the curb on their way, and it's myself and Leo Gorman alongside to bring you the action throughout the next 33 minutes plus 1 lap.
Keep an eye on whoever's on the left-hand side of the grid.
Right.
Because whoever's on the left-hand side may try and use the outside of the first corner Tarzan to get a shoot down around the exit into 3.
Bit of a slingshot round there because it becomes the inside, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, Ferdinand Habsburg is in the position to be able to potentially take advantage of that because it's Lando Norris who we can see making his way into his grid box now. Stacking up the back end and getting the back end loose to try and generate some temperature into the tyres. You can see the track temperature, 22 degrees, air temperature 18 degrees. Ferdinand Habsburg slots into his grid box then. The new livery of the Maximilian Günther car. Alongside him, of course, is Joel Eriksson. Joel Eriksson going from P3, Maximilian Günther going from P4. And those, of course, at the front of the grid have to wait for everyone else to make their way into their grid box. Joey Mawson, the last one of those to fall into position. And once they've done so, the green flag will be shown from the marshal at the rear of the track. And race 1 is about to get underway. Lando Norris has positioned himself perfectly in that grid box, as you can see. So we get the green flag from the marshal. We'll throw the lights to the top of the screen for you. There on the left-hand side, the engine note rises, so too does the excitement. Lando Norris with a brilliant start. Ferdinand Habsburg seemed to bog down there. Can Maximilian Gunther take advantage of that? Well, the one that has taken advantage is Joel Eriksson, who finds himself into P2. Oh, and there's a collision already, and a car invertedly.
Yes, it was someone's outbraked himself going into turn one and clattered into two others. Not entirely sure who that is at the moment. We see Habsburg has dropped down to 5th place, Gunther 3rd, Isla P4 as they flow around the first few corners, and safety car has been called, Dave. Safety car has been called.
So no surprise there. One of those involved in that was Ralph Aron. The other one that was involved in that and is upside down is the David Beckman car, the Van Amersfoort driver in car number 55. So David Beckman then, as the team are on the scene very, very quickly indeed. Here we can see it again. How did that happen?
And I wonder if that was possibly Guan Yu Zhu or someone from that far back.
There's the 55 car on the outside.
So yeah, it is Zhu. He outbrakes himself, goes into the side of Aron, who then hits Beckman, and Beckman gets turned over in the gravel trap. And to be fair, Dave, this is one of the reasons why we hear an awful lot of tarmac runoff areas replacing gravel traps, because sometimes they can actually flick a car over like that.
Look at the reaction of René Rossin then on the very left-hand side of your picture there. He's the team boss of Prema Power Team. And there you can see the cars are both, and it just digs in. It digs into that gravel, doesn't it?
And what's happened actually is because it has rained overnight, there's an awful lot of more compact dirt and gravel in there, so it's probably just hit like a lump that's actually tripped the car over. Ralph Aron is clearly, he's out of the car and he's okay. That was really an unlikely move by Guan Yu Zhu. That was never going to come off. He's completely outbraked himself and unfortunately caused an accident. But for the moment, the team personnel, track team personnel, are looking at getting David Beckman's car righted. And this is not a job of a moment, Dave, because you need to make sure that you don't want to just flick the car over. So it needs to be a careful process, and that's what these guys were very professional.
Absolutely.
Know exactly what they're doing. This is what they're working at the moment.
So David Beckman then, of course, we hope all is okay, but as Lee has said, all the precautions will be taken. There you can see as the car just bogs down, doesn't it? And that's what tips it over. So there, the marshal's very carefully lifting the car up, and the medical team are on there as well to make sure that he is perfectly okay. Now, of course, the integrity and the safety integrity of these Formula 3 European Championship cars is outstanding, isn't it? And therefore, particularly first turn, the speed had not been built up. He was just clattered in. Truthfully, a completely innocent bystander.
Absolutely, completely innocent bystander. And it's worth mentioning as well that one of the upgrade packages that Dallara delivered this year was actually a safety upgrade package. So there's more bulk in the front of the car where the suspension linkages are, and all of these upgrades. And
we can see him getting out.
And that's it. The marshals and the medical team will always tell a driver now to stay put in the car until they can actually attend the scene and make sure that the driver is fine, make sure that there's no issues that could cause any difficulty. It's all to make sure that the driver is extracted from the car in the safest manner possible.
These marshals, they train, the extraction teams train, don't they? So the medical team's just there making sure that everything is, and in fairness, we saw within the gap through the marshals there that David was actually trying to get himself out of the car, but it's been advised just to, take it easy, let us control the situation here, because what we don't want to do, we want to make sure you're absolutely fine.
It's reminiscent to a degree of it was a crash at Le Mans about 5 years ago with Anthony Davidson.
Yes.
He had a massive crash.
There he is, out of the car, look. And well done to all the team down there, and great to hear all the applause as well as he is out of the car, and to all intents and purposes looks absolutely fine, walks away. More cross than anything else, I should think. Of course, these races have been completely compromised, so actually no fault of his own.
And just to finish, it goes back to that with Davidson at Le Mans 3 years ago. He actually got out of the car not realising he had a broken vertebrae.
Of course.
So it's very, very, very strict in this now. The driver stays in the car until he can be properly extracted by the officials.
Can you recall the event at Spa a couple of years ago when Gustavo Menezes, for whatever reason, they were not quite as gentle as that with that car being turned back onto its four wheels.
Yeah, Gustavo got flicked clean over there after the car went on top of the barrier. That was a scary moment, and you know, that's why we have procedures like this now. You need to take absolute care if they're involved in an incident such as that.
Well, all good to see that David is out of the car and is absolutely fine to all intents and purposes insofar as we can see. The order then behind the safety car is Lando Norris, then it's Joel Eriksson, Maximilian Gunter, Callum Eilert, Ferdinand Habsburg, back down to P5. Then somebody that made an outstanding start and took advantage of some of what was going on ahead of him was Mick Schumacher, who's up to P6.
And of course, sitting in second at the moment is Guan Yu Zhu, who instigated that incident in turn 1. But I just wonder if that's once the situation.
I think it'll be looked at.
It'll be looked at once the safety car is cleared. And of course, Aaron's out, completely out of the race as well, as we can see there on screen. His number 7 high-tech machine getting carted away by the JCB. But that's something that will be looked into, I'm sure, shortly.
Yes. On board with the safety car then, which continues to lead the cars around the clock, continues to tick away. Of course, we've not had one effective completed lap, to be honest, because of that incident through turn number 1. But reinforcing what Lee said right at the beginning of the programme, this is very much an old-school circuit. And perhaps reinforcing what I said is, if you've only got to put a wheel wrong and it is going to bite you, it'll bite you very, very hard. And both Beckman and Aron are testament to that, if you like. So staying on board the safety car, and there you can see just how much. That was the point you were making. With the rain overnight, what's happened is it's compacted, hasn't it? And David Beckman's roll hoop there has actually almost acted like a shovel, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's the roll hoop. It is a situation with the roll hoop where it allows the car to give the head a little bit of space, but because it's actually buried in.
Yes. Let me say this again, just looking at that car now, you would never know that had been rolled over, which is, it was at relatively slow speed, it has to be said. But also the integrity of these Dallara cars is magnificent, isn't it? That car you would not think had been rolled over.
Massively. So I remember there was an incident at Po about 3-4 years ago. It was, I think it might have been one of our football players, Alexander Torres, had an incident, and one of the team bosses said to me afterwards, in the old cars, that would have been much, much worse. But these current F3 cars are so good, they're so strong that they can actually have pretty big incidents and keep the driver in very good state of order. So the marshals there just making some repairs to the gravel trap then, as the number 55 car is taken away. And once the recovery machine is out of the way and the marshals are happy that they've reinstated the gravel trap, then we should be back to racing. So I don't think it's going to be very long now before we see the cars back. The incident in turn 1 is indeed under investigation. Our message screen has just told us that. We go back on board with the safety car. What Lando Norris is trying to do here, of course, is to try and generate some temperature into those tyres. And what's this going on to Joel's pit board? That is a message for Joel to remind him to actually work the brakes and work the tyres.
Yeah.
Or maybe he's working him too much, actually. So if that's his brakes easy, I wonder if he's actually working him, if he's going too aggressive and the temperatures are probably getting too high.
And there, an even more graphic shot of the...
It really did actually go into the gravel.
Dug in, didn't it? Yeah, dug in, but the car looks absolutely fine, doesn't it? Sorry, back to Joel Eriksson. I just wonder whether it's... it could be one of two things here. Number one, the point you make, he could have been... because when the drivers are in a situation like this, what they're doing is they are trying to keep the tyres warm. They're trying to also keep the brakes up to temperature as well, so they'll be pushing on the brake pedal, pushing off the brake pedal, on, off, trying to generate some temperature into that. So it's possible that he's been pushing those brakes a little bit too hard during this period of time behind the safety car. The other is that I think this is my inclination, by virtue of the point they put easy on that, is that when the safety car does come in and you are released once again, easy on the brakes, because they may not be up to the operating temperature.
Actually, that's another very, very valid option as well, and it's going to be the same for the tyres.
Of course it is.
Replay here again of Guan Yu Zhu.
So it was, in fairness to Guan Yu Zhu, the gap was there, wasn't it? And he went for it. Now, it's this question of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Did Ralph Aron turn in on him? Was the gap available to him? again, we can watch that 100 times and call it different ways, can't we?
I'm not entirely sure that Aaron turned in on him. I probably think that Ju probably once he began to lock up that car, that was beginning to slide out, and he just ran out of space.
Safety car is coming in this lap. Forgive me interrupting.
And yeah, and as we said, Beckman was just so unfortunate to be in the wrong place. I think
Look at Lando kicking out the back end of that car. Now, what Lando is going to do here is once the safety car, and you can see the lights are out on top of the safety car, which means that it is coming in at the end of this lap. So Lando Norris then is responsible for controlling the pace of this restart. Ideally, what he will do is he will back them all up. What Joel Eriksson and Maximilian Günther have got to try and do is ascertain when Lando Norris is going to give it a footful.
And the restart line is there. This is, actually, next line is we're going to actually get restart the race, because the race doesn't restart over the start-finish line. Of course, there is the safety car restart line in around the final corner.
Look at them backing up now. Lando Norris gives it a footful. To be fair, Joel Eriksson sticks with him. So too does Maximilian Günther as we go back to racing again. Here it is race 1. And the cars head down the start-finish straight then and into that turn 1, which saw that instant right at the start of the race. And here comes Joel Eriksson to the outside of Lando Norris. Lando Norris tries to make the car wide. He locks up a little bit. That may have cost him a couple of tenths, but he has got the job done.
And we also saw there Ferdinand Habsburg making a move around the outside of Callum Islet. As I said at the start of the race, he actually took the outside line and was able to clear him around the long chute around the corner.
Yeah, a bit of a slingshot, wasn't it, as the rest of the cars go through. Then the turn 3 sequence, climbing uphill towards turn number 4, and then dropping down as they go in amongst the dunes. You can see how downhill this section is, and it's a fantastic place to watch these Formula 3 cars around the back of the circuit side by side. But Lando Norris already having less under pressure there is Jihan Diravala, wasn't it, who was losing out there?
I guess Jake Hughes trying to find a way around, and we've got a message on the timing this morning. It's in car number 96, and that's Joey Mawson.
Yeah.
Inaccurate grid position. That's an interesting one, which I'm sure we will see a result of that soon. Guan Yu Zhu has been given a drive-through penalty for causing a collision in turn 1 at the start of the race.
So you called that exactly right. Guan Yu Zhu considered to be at blame for that, and has got a drive-through penalty, which has to be taken within 3 laps of him being notified of that. We've got 20.5 minutes left on the clock, but Lando Norris now crosses the timing line and finds himself with a comfortable 1.2 second margin over Joel Eriksson in P2, who's defending and has 6 tenths over Maximilian Günther, who's P3. Ferdinand Habsburg, you'll recall, started from P2 on the grid, is P4.
That's towards the move towards the rear of the grid. I do believe that was Mawson, and might have been on Mazepin. I'm not entirely sure. We'll see in a moment again. But down the inside of turn 1, making the move stick as they came through the long Tarzan right-hand bend.
Mawson, of course, under investigation for potentially an inaccurate grid position right at the start of the race, which seems terribly confusing given he was right at the back of the pack.
What that would possibly mean is he's probably gone too far
over.
in his block too.
So Lando Norris then did a good job on that restart and has not looked back since. So Jake Hughes currently running P9. Jihan Diravala then occupying the final of the points-paying positions at the moment. And it's Harrison Newey that is behind him in P11. There's our race leader going through. Then it's P2, and Ferdinand Habsburg then is P4 behind the P3 driver Maximilian Günther.
And Mawson has now been given a drive-through penalty for the inaccurate grid position. So I'd say it probably was something as simple as not being lined up properly in its grid box. And
he'd made up a few places. He was up into P13, so Mawson is now going to lose that benefit.
It might seem like a silly mistake to make, but it's very, very, very difficult to see out the sides of these cars. As
I think Günther's coming under pressure here. Ferdinand Habsburg and also Callum Islet look to be ever closer now. So Maximilian Günther, who of course is running those new BWT colours for the first time this weekend. Sits at the top of the points chart at the moment, but his biggest rival in the points, Lando Norris, of course, he's leading this race. So the number 5 car of Pedro Piquet.
Looking very racy there is actually Jake Hughes, because following Piquet around, Hughes has been searching for alternative lines around the first few corners to see if he can try and maybe extra a move on, or look to get a move on Pedro Piquet around. And I remember this from Callum Islet here last year, through some of the races, was at the time had several races where he was stuck by Maxi Gunther.
Yes.
And he spent the entire doing the same, looking for alternative lines to maybe take a slightly wider line in the corner to get a sharper exit through the corner, just to try and get maybe distract the driver in front, or get a better run out of the exit, as Habsburg actually went a little bit wide there. And Habsburg, he's a guy who's actually come on an awful lot in the last couple of rounds, won of course race 2 at Spa, and has had a very good weekend so far in practice, but he's under pressure from Callum Islet as Callum gets closer and closer and closer, and he's going to try and take P4 back as they come across the line and in down towards turn 1.
Oh. Habsburg really shut the door, didn't he? He knew Callum Islet was going to have a go on the inside. Can Callum Islet get a slingshot around? No, he's not quite close enough. Now Ferdinand Habsburg really is feeling the pressure of the young British star Callum Islet right behind him in the number 53 car. So Callum Islet then all over the back of Ferdinand Habsburg. But what it does do, it just proves how sometimes difficult it is to overtake here at the Zandvoort circuit. And reinforcing a little bit of what Lee was saying, how Callum Islet has spent lap after lap after lap perhaps looking for alternatives, maybe unorthodox places, to try and start to set up an overtake move. On this occasion, on Ferdinand Habsburg, it hasn't worked.
And it was quite an aggressive defence by Habsburg, but it was one move across the track, so that would be arguable. Max Verstappen used to do that quite a lot, actually, when he was in his 1 year in Formula 3. He used to spend a lot of practice trying to find alternative lines for corners so that he could maybe find another way to overtake drivers during races.
Of course, that former Formula 3 star, now enjoying his time in Formula 1, is here at Zandvoort tomorrow. So once again, Callum Islet just reels in the Ferdinand Habsburg car ahead of him. It's the battle for P4 between Ferdinand Habsburg and Callum Islet. They are within a tenth of each other. That's how close they are. Right now we're watching the number 33 car of Sato then, but here comes our race leader, Lando Norris, across the timing line. Now with some 2.7 seconds of margin over Joel Eriksson. Here comes Callum Islet again. Ferdinand Habsburg dives to the inside. Now Callum Islet is, if he can stick with this, he will have the inside line for the next turn, but he was just squeezed out by Ferdinand Habsburg. But that was a really, really stoic effort there from Callum Islet.
Close, close, close.
Habsburg is under pressure, lock up there. He knows that Callum Islet is determined to take this P4 place away from him.
Really hung Islet around the outside of Tarzan there, and Islet, all credit, kept his foot in with the wheels on just the edge of the curbs. Well done.
Actually, good, respectful driving from both of them, to be fair to them. So Ferdinand Habsburg now breathes just a sigh of relief before the Viper like Callum Islet will line him up for another go, potentially.
And just there behind him, should something go wrong, is Mick Schumacher.
Yes. Mick Schumacher, who's up into P6 then. So there is Ferdinand Habsburg. As you said, has taken victory already this season. And
we have,
who is it in the pits?
Makino has gone into the pits. The motor park. It's been a difficult season for Makino, to say the least, but you know, he's getting racing experience, and we'll hope to see him again for quite a while yet, because he's quite a talented driver from the Far East.
Now Callum Islet nowhere near close enough to Ferdinand Habsburg on this occasion. We've got a yellow flag in turn 14, but that's quickly taken back in again now. Callum Islet was nothing like as close on that occasion. Lando Norris has, we watch in super slow-mo there, has added another 3/10 to his margin of comfort right at the front of the pack. Now, to go back to the Callum Islet Ferdinand Habsburg battle, and this is probably why.
Oh, that's Sato.
That's why that car is in the pits, isn't it?
Now he's gone into the pits as well in a smashed front wing, to say the least.
Yeah, but what he's done is dragged all that gravel out onto the track.
And do you know what else? I think he's probably done the floor as well.
Maybe so. So, back to the Habsburg Islet battle that I was talking about as we watch our race leader, Lando Norris. Of course, what Callum Islet will very cleverly be doing is just allowing Ferdinand Habsburg, he's still within overtake distance, isn't he? But he's just letting the car cool, isn't he? And he's just backing off a little bit to have another go. I mean, there's only 13 minutes of this race left, plus 1 lap.
Well, the last couple of laps where Islet tried to make the manoeuvre work and it didn't come off, he ended up losing half a second both time around, and then pulled that half a second back in sectors 2 and 3. So he's given a bit of breathing space and he's drawn himself back into the Habsburg battle. Habsburg is slower at the moment, but it's up to Islet to actually make the move. He's closer this time around, not close enough.
No, he isn't close
but
enough.
I think by the time next lap comes around, he's going to be right on Habsburg's rear wing.
Well, let's see as they make their way now through turns here as they snake their way through this fantastic Zandvoort circuit, very much old school. We've already seen the old school penalty, if you like, right at the very early stages of this race with no tarmac runoff area. Actually, those gravel traps and grass. To see these cars running through that sequence there is a fantastic. Race leader Lando Norris, 3.6 seconds to the good. Callum Islet then, as we predicted, much closer to Ferdinand Habsburg, lining Ferdinand Habsburg up now, and it's 3-4 corners before he wants to make his overtake that he tries to set it up.
Yeah, coming out of turn 10 and down in the long stretch, in the back stretch toward the club's corner, that's when you start getting into the chicane. And they're going to start making this the chicane here. Now it's 3 corners to the end of the lap. This is where you set yourself up, get yourself close enough. Don't lose too much grip coming through the final long couple of corners. It's actually 3 corners.
Quite sweeping, isn't it?
But it's like one long turn. Is he close enough this time around? It's actually probably still not close enough. Still a couple of tenths. And you probably need to be literally right behind the rear wing of the guy in front to even have an opportunity to make the move. Meanwhile, out front, you have Norris 4.1 seconds ahead of Ericsson.
He's just consistently watching him.
He's not doing the tyres too much harm. He's actually just doing a consistent pace and clear air. Very good job.
And this is something I've really noticed about Lando, is that when he has got his nose in front, every lap is very strong, but it's smooth. He's not taking too much out of the tyres, as you say. He's just driving well within his capabilities and well within the car's ability as well. And we can see the result, 4.1 seconds to the good out front. So Lando Norris leading the race. From Joel Eriksson, Maximilian Günther is P3, then it's Ferdinand Habsburg and Callum Islet, which is the battle that we look at right now. Ferdinand Habsburg in the blue Darling car. Callum Islet, of course, in the traditional Prema Power team colours.
And another note, I think to keep note of as well, Islet with Norris leading this race, and Günther P3, it would actually allow Norris to take 10 points out of Günther's lead should it stay like this.
And Maximilian Günther will be very well aware of that. You know, Lando is chasing him down in the championship. You know, from here we go off to the Nürburgring, and then it's Red Bull Ring, and then, of course, the finale at Hockenheim. So, as I said, right at the beginning of our programme, you know, it is reaching the critical point in the championship, isn't it?
Just there, we seen Islet's lost 8/10 of a second. He's losing a bit of time now coming into the first sector, and again the last sector. So I wonder maybe in those few moves he did try and take Habsburg. Maybe he's gone over the edge with his Hankook tyres. And as I said before, Habsburg's pace, he was slower initially, and he's probably gone a little bit far in his Hankook tyres as well. But the 2 guys in 4th and 5th at the moment just falling a little bit further back from the leading 3 of Norris, Eriksson and Günther.
Okay, Eriksson and Günther both running in the 128.8s. Lando Norris, 128.5. Of course, he's got completely clear track ahead of him, and is just able to focus and concentrate on every single corner, nailing every one, and he is doing a brilliant job, and that's why he's 4.4 seconds. As we watch the number 3 car, Maximilian Günther, through the chicane then, and then this heading towards this sweeping section now, which goes around the furthest end of the paddock here at Zandvoort. And here here in replay and super slow-mo. It is the Maximilian Gunter car wearing that new livery for this weekend. And Maximilian Gunter then not able to trouble Joel Eriksson ahead. In fact, he's some 2 seconds down on Joel Eriksson, who is P2. And also Lando Norris doing a brilliant job in leading the race. So just under 8.5 minutes of the race still to run, plus 1 lap, of course. It is the first of 3 races here at Zandvoort for the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. And there for Prema Power Team, going from running in P6 is Mick Schumacher. And bear in mind that Mick Schumacher is on the 5th row of the grid, so he's made up a number of places. He's looking pretty comfortable. And Mick Schumacher has, of course, come into this from the Formula 4 Championship and has just slowly but slowly, I mean, he was on the podium as best rookie, of course, right at the start of the season, but he's just been getting better and better and better, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's just banking the experience, learning all the things he needs to learn to put a Formula 3 campaign together. This is a result, again, if it stays like this, will probably take him to the top 10 in the championship, jumping ahead of Harry Newey, who's currently P10 in this race. It's just a matter of actually pulling the results together. It's not every driver is going to come in and win off the bat, but Shuey's doing a respectable job, and he's been reasonably quick throughout the year, and we're seeing more of that speed and maturity as the year goes on. Here is Shuey in slow motion. I think you can't miss that helmet.
No.
You cannot miss that helmet.
So super slow-mo of Mick Schumacher then, here on the newly tarmacked Zandvoort circuit. And the car looking great. Mick Schumacher running in P6. Of course, he's got his Prema Power Team teammate, Callum Eilert, just ahead of him, who certainly now is a full second behind Ferdinand Habsburg, who just a few laps ago was chasing him down. So Norris leading very nearly 5 seconds ahead of Joel Eriksson. And there we just saw Ferdinand Habsburg going through. So Norris leading from Joel Eriksson, Maximilian Gunter, Ferdinand Habsburg. Callum Eilert is P5 with Mick Schumacher, who we were talking about, going from running in P6 at the moment. So Lando Norris, our race leader then. Again, he's just consistently lapping quicker than Joel Eriksson and Maximilian Gunter, which is why he's able to increase that margin that he has every single lap into the final 6 minutes plus 1 lap of this first of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship races across this weekend. Qualifying that sets the grid for races 2 and 3 comes up this afternoon, and you can join us for that, as well as we'll bring you all the highs and the lows from qualifying when the drivers get to set the grid for races 2 and 3. So don't get much respite, do they? You know, they will achieve whatever they achieve in this race, and then all of a sudden they've got to be back out again and think about qualifying. Mick Schumacher then is running in P6. PK getting ever closer. So too Jake Hughes.
I'll tell you something, Shuey's dropped a lot of pace in those last couple of laps. He's now actually dropped into the 30s. Right. It was generally slow, and it's not like he's had an off somewhere where he's lost a whole bunch of time. He's actually slower in
just consistently slower
in sector 1s, 2 and 3. So PK, who was a couple of seconds behind him recently, now half a second behind him, and Jake Hughes a half a second behind PK. You have a kind of stalemate situation here where PK is going to be looking for a gap to get by Shuey, but he's also going to be wary of Jake Hughes behind him.
Of course.
Because the PK goes to move, maybe gets offline. He doesn't want to be in a position where Hughes takes the position off of him, and Hughes is hoping PK.
Of course, that's exactly what he's hoping for, isn't it? On board the Prema Power Team pit wall, then they can see that Schumacher now is coming under pressure from Pedro Piquet. This is for the P6 position
into the club chicane, as they go the right and then a long left into Hanshurst corner, and now into the final Kumo corner.
He could be setting it up now, couldn't he, for turn 1?
It's close, but I'm not sure he's close enough. I think Shuey just has enough of an advantage here. It's only 0.3 of a second, but Piquet needs another 10th or another 10th and a half to be able to really threaten Shuey.
Well, can he build that over the next lap? And as Lee alongside me identified Jake Jake Hughes is just going to hope that ahead of him, Pedro Piquet is going to do all the hard work for him. Jake Hughes ready to be in a position to take advantage of that. And Gian Daravala is just beginning to get into that three-way battle for P6 as well. So don't rule Gian Daravala out of the equation here either. But we only have just under 3.5 minutes plus 1 lap. So Piquet really needs to do it now. Oh, that was a cheeky move, wasn't it? Just taking a look there.
And they're definitely closing in. Schumacher, who lost, we put it in context, Schuey's 0.7 of a second slower than Islet in Sector 1 alone. Although Islet looks to be on a personal best at the moment, that's just ahead of this battle. But Schuey, I think he's really beginning to struggle. He's dropped another couple of tenths, and Piquet, and it's actually becoming a 6-way battle. I think Schuey's dropping so much speed at the moment that all the cars behind him are beginning to close right in.
Yes, he's proving to be a little bit as Callum Islet now. Once again, just gets a little bit closer to Ferdinand Habsburg, but not close enough. And then it's this, at the moment, 4-way, soon to be 6-way battle, isn't it, of those cars queuing up behind Mick Schumacher. But to be fair, Pedro was nothing like close enough, Lee.
No, not at all. And I think Piquet lost a little bit of time himself in that final sector. Personal bests of the entire race for Habsburg and Islet on that last lap, but Islet was 0.6 quicker.
So they're both upping their game a little bit in the closing stages of this race. Callum Islet then really wants to try and wrestle away this P4 position from Ferdinand Habsburg. Ferdinand Habsburg is having none of it currently as they take the wide outside, which becomes the tight inside for the next turn. And they sweep through the Ferdinand Habsburg car then, followed by Callum Islet here. 1.5 minutes plus 1 lap to be done.
And interestingly enough, Islet does seem to have a slightly higher top-end speed coming around the faster sections of the circuit, so while he may not necessarily be right up with Habsburg in terms of outright pace in the high downforce section of the course, as soon as he gets a good run on the start finish straight, he has more speed, but he doesn't have quite enough speed to be able to actually force his way past Habsburg at this time. And Habsburg, as we know, likes to defend hard, so it's going to be a hard job for Islet to get by, even though the gap is only 0.4 of a second. It's just too much as they come into Tarzan.
And it is too much, isn't it? 0.4 is not. Schumacher now has just got away, hasn't he, from Piquet a bit. Piquet now under pressure from Hughes and also Daravala.
Schumacher's just set his personal best, which says something. It's a personal best. It's a 29.2. Is still some 0.8 of a second a lap slower than what they're nominally setting near the front of the field. Piquet, I think, is beginning to come under a bit of pressure now from Jake Hughes. I think his attention has been diverted somewhat from Schumacher. I think Jake is going to get a little bit feisty as we're going to come into the final sections of this race. Possibly penultimate lap, would you say?
There is
Yeah, he's on the back straight, so this is going to be the penultimate lap of the race.
Can I just say, whilst we've been watching Ferdinand Habsburg and also the battle with Schumacher as well, Lando Norris here, 7 seconds up the road. I mean, that's 7 seconds. He could jolly well, he could be in Harlem having a coffee almost, couldn't he?
Actually, I think he's already left the cafe and he's tipped the waitress.
Extraordinary pace that he is showing. So 1 lap left for Lando Norris, who should be completely and totally untroubled because Joel Eriksson, who crosses the timing line in P2, is another 0.6 behind him now. So 0.6. Lando Norris is continuing to be in the 128.3s, whereas Eriksson and Gunter 128.8, 128.9. Habsburg, though, 128.5.
Here's a question, Dave. Does Eriksson need to use those tyres again this weekend?
Very good question.
Because it's very limited tyre usage in the European Formula 3 Championship, and at some stage you'll have to double up on tyres. Now, whether they use these tyres from practice qualifying or whether they maybe use 2 tyres from race area on the weekend, that's between the teams, the strategists. But if he's found a position or found a way to maybe just go easy on the tyres, it's possible that they may have more use for them later on.
Perhaps so. And that's part of the, again, part of the learning experience, isn't it? It's the strategic use of the tyres that are allocated to you. Lando Norris, though, we can take nothing away from this young man, of course. High on confidence, as we suggested, having had that hugely successful Formula One test where he impressed absolutely everybody, and he continues to impress as he rounds the final turn and will head towards the checkered flag. Lando Norris wins Formula 3 Race 1 here at Zandvoort and wins it by a huge margin over Joel Eriksson, who crosses the timing line now. Then it's P2 for Eriksson, P3 for Gunther, P4 for Ferdinand Habsburg. Callum Isler has to settle for P5. Mick Schumacher in the end then does make P6 from PK Hughes, Daruvala and Harry Newey rounds out the top 10 with Nikita Mazepin P11 and the Carlin team down there. It's so good. Lando Norris has been actually so good for the Carlin team as well, hasn't he? Where once it has been so Prema-dominated to see Carlin back right at the top.
I think where we were this time last year with Carlin, where they were struggling. Now, whether they struggled a bit with the drivers they had last year, and they come back this year, regrouped somewhat. They got Lando there, who's really delivering some very strong results and showing that, once again, the team know how to deliver. That was faultless. That's all. It was absolutely faultless, as we see in the results there now.
Lando Norris taking the win from Joel Eriksson. Then it was Maximilian Gunther, Ferdinand Habsburg, Callum Eilert, Mick Schumacher, Pedro Piquet, Jake Hughes. Then it was Jihan Daruvala, Harry Newey rounding out the top 10. And then places 11 through to 17. As you can see, of course, we lost David Beckman and Ralph Aron right in the early stages of the race. But here in super slow-mo, as he crosses the timing line and gets the checkered flag, and the Carlin team celebrate on the pit wall as well, because it is Lando P1. It was a masterclass, really, wasn't it?
It really was. I think he controlled that race absolutely wonderful. And a heads up once again for the guy who finished 6th place, Mick Schumacher, who he drove reasonably well throughout the race, consistent pace.
Yes.
But he was very clever coming into turn 1 on the first lap of the race. Took to the inside line while there was all carnage around him. Took several positions to jump into that top 6.
Super slow-mo's the top 3 then. Maximilian Gunther with a new livery. The Prema Power Team takes P3. P2 then for Moto Park goes the way of Joel Eriksson. But the winner, with an extremely comfortable margin of 1/10 under 9 seconds. Lando Norris for Carlin. Another win for the number 31 car.
That's 3 wins in 4 races, Dave. He's really on a charge, 4 and 6. And the other 2 races not scoring in the 3rd place. So he's really bringing the results together in the last 2 rounds, and that's what I meant earlier on. There was a portion earlier on in the middle part of the season where maybe he was beginning to fall a little bit away in the championship, but he's really made some big scores of late, and now he's only 10 points behind Maxi Gunther.
I was going to say, how troubling is it for Maxi Gunther that Lando is coming on good now, right when he needs to. 281 points, plays 273 now. Joel Eriksson there on 258, not to be discounted from that equation either.
I think what will actually be more worrying for Prema is not just that Gunther has been caught, but also Eilert to a degree has fallen, has dropped out of the, or is towards the very end of the championship battle at the moment. Joel Eriksson still there with his motor park machine, although he's hasn't really picked up a major win in a reasonable while now. Actually, Eriksson's last win was back in Hungaroring 2 months ago, and someone stopped on the last lap of the race, and I do believe... no, actually, no, that's the recovering Beckman's car. They put him by the side of they put him in the gravel trap by the gravel trap, so recovering his car now is Eilert. from 5th place.
So, drivers then behind the podium. Of course, we'll bring you the podium ceremony in full. Double bubble once again for Lando Norris, isn't it? Because, of course, best P1 in the race and best rookie driver as well. There's Joel Eriksson. And
have you ever met a more calm person in your life?
No, I don't think I have. I have to say, the conversations I've had with Lando, who you can see, sent a picture now, he's... And I said this to a colleague in the media centre earlier on today. Seems to be a very old head on those young shoulders, in my opinion. He seems very, very, very grounded, very, almost at times you could think he's even perhaps a little bit standoffish, but actually he isn't. It's just he's completely and totally focused on the job that he's got to do.
There's an element there of when he comes to a race and gets a good result, it's like job done, box ticked.
Yeah, move on.
And it's obviously he'll take plaudits for the results he gets now, but once the race is won and out of the way, you're absolutely right, it's move on, next job. Which may seem, in some sense, a little bit dispassionate. It's not. He is actually very, very passionate about what he does, but he's not necessarily going to blow out huge streams of...
No, you're right. You're right. Well, of course, we've seen so many success stories from the FIA Formula 3 European Championship in terms of the going up to the highest echelons of motorsport. Lando Norris, of course, sampled that. I think he called it being on top of the highest cloud by testing in a Formula 1 car just a couple of weeks ago, and there he is on the top step of the podium here in the championship. He's contesting the FIA Formula 3 European Championship, and there is the smile of Carlin celebrating as well. I haven't seen Trevor Carlin this weekend as the national anthem plays out for Lando Norris. So national anthem plays out for Lando Norris, then the British star who's on the top step of the podium, having taken the win here at Zandvoort in race 1. P2, Joel Eriksson. P3, Maximilian Günther. Guido van der Garde, who's here this weekend, the former Formula 1 driver, who's actually a guest in the Audi Sport TT Cup and will be out driving a little bit later today, makes the trophy presentation to Lando Norris. Next up, of course, will come the trophy for Joel Eriksson. Tom Kurovitz, then, the CEO of Declavo, makes the trophy presentation, first of all, of course, to the winning team, that being Carlin Motorsport, based, of course, in Aldershot in the UK. And here's Guido once again to make the trophy presentation to Joel Eriksson, who does break into a small smile there. Lovely trophies, actually, incidentally.
Yeah, very...
Maximilian Günther then receives his.
He's not disappointed, but I think he knows Lando's coming.
Yeah, I think you're right. And this was the point I wanted to make to you, really, is, this will be a measure of Max's character in terms of how he deals with a predator getting so close now. Because truthfully, Lando's kind of got nothing to lose, has he? He's the one that's chasing.
No, absolutely not. And if he wins...
Well... Now, that's really unkind, Lee. Back in the days when I was a successful racing driver, if my team met... We know that's not true. But
when was this?
Yeah, in my dreams. Lando really has had a proper shower, hasn't he? That was great to see. The celebrations, absolutely fantastic. Lando Norris, race winner then, enjoying the fruits of his labour never looked troubled in that race at all. Just quietly, unassumingly goes about his job, boshing in fastest laps after fastest laps, just consistently tenths ahead of those that are supposedly chasing him down. Never looks troubled, Lee.
Not just Lando as well, but a word for Habsburg as well.
Yeah.
Carlin just looked a bit sore.
Well, join us for qualifying, which comes to set the grid for races 2 and 3 a little later today, but from race 1. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye for now.
Second place will be presented by Mr. Tom Korovits, CEO of Data Claims Expert Services in Belgium. Mick Schumacher. And the third place for Jan Darvala, the prize will be presented again by Mr. Guido van der